This conference will now be recorded.
All right, welcome everyone to the Montachusett meeting today of July 17. Brian, you want to read the roll?
I have Steve Wolfel representing Mass DOT Secretary and CEO Monica Tibbetts Nutt.
Here.
Ann Sullivan representing Highway Division Leader Jonathan Gulliver.
Here.
Trevor Beauregard Gardner.
Here.
Mark Pamarini Lemonster.
Here.
Laura Schifrin MRPC.
Here.
And George Kahali Mart.
Present.
So we do have just enough for a quorum. I'll try to keep my eyes on who shows up and add as necessary.
All right. Well, again, thanks, Brian. Welcome everyone. We'll move on to agenda item 2, which is public comments. Are there any members of the public who would like to address the MPO today? Oh, wait, Brian, on the roll, I believe FTA is here. Kirsty's here.
So we don't have currently, so we have FTA as an ex officio member, not a voting member. We've been calling just the signatories.
So Brian, just in the future, we need to call on the ex officios because that was a request we got from Highway and FTA. So just in the future, let's make sure we do it, all right? But
Okay,
Kirsty,
good to know. Thank you. Christy Hostetler from Federal Transit Administration.
Yes, that's me. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Christy.
we'll figure this out at some point, I promise. So
No worries.
it looked like there were no members of the public when I called for it. So we'll move to agenda item 3, which is potential approval of the minutes of June 19th. Can I get a motion and a second to approve the minutes?
Laura Schifrin, motion. Second, Ann Sullivan.
All right, any changes or comments on the minutes? All right, seeing none, Brian, you want to read the roll?
Steve Wolfel, Mass DOT.
Yes.
Ann Sullivan, Mass DOT Highway.
Yes.
Trevor Beauregard Gardner.
Yes.
Mark Pamarini Lemonster.
Yes.
Laura Schifrin MRPC.
Yes.
And George Kahali Mart.
Yes.
All right, thank you, everyone. We'll now move to agenda item 4, which is the Montachusett Federal Fiscal Year 24-28 tip. There's a couple of tip items today, so Brian, take it away.
Thank you. So if you remember last month, we released 2 amendments to the 24-28 tip for a 21-day public comment period. That comment period ended this past Friday on the 12th. We received no comment on either of these amendments, but we'd like to bring it back before the group today for a motion to endorse. I'll briefly go over each one just to remind everyone. The first one is amendment number 6. It deals with the highway side. 3 different projects and over 3 federal fiscal years. In 2024, we have Fitchburg 608-189, which is the Water Street Bridge over the Boulder Drive and the North Nashua River downtown. A cost increase, significant cost increase, about 79%. I won't get into specifics. We went over this last month when we put it up for public comment. The second project in 2025, Lemonster 604-499. This is the Route 12 Central Street project. Another cost increase in 2025 on the state side. Fitchburg 609-411, which is the phase 2 construction of the Twin Cities Rail Trail. Again, a cost increase. None of these increases affect fiscal constraint. They're all carried on the state side. Also, none of the project placement is affected. It's purely cost adjustments, as was detailed at last month's meeting when we sent it out for public comment. Again, there were no public comments during the comment period, so we're bringing it back for a motion to endorse.
All right, for this amendment, can I get a motion second to endorse, please?
I make a motion to accept it as presented.
All right, Ann, you want a second?
I'll second, yep.
All right, any questions for Brian?
Hey, Mr. Chair, I just have a clarifying comment.
All right, go ahead, Chris.
The cost increase to that Fitchburg Twin Cities Rail Trail project. The increase was $2.8 million, but the total cost is now $27 million. The $16 million amount on the screen is just the programmed amount in 2026, and that is the year that we captured the cost increase. Does that make sense, folks?
Chris, is that
Yeah,
we
thank you.
change do anything with the motion second, or we're good? You were just clarifying.
Yep. Just clarifying. The information on the screen is correct, but the total cost is just for that, or the cost on the screen is just that program year.
All right.
Thank you, Chris. And Chris mentioned this to me a few weeks ago. I should have updated the handout here for more clarification, but this is solely for federal fiscal year 2026. That line item is increased by those numbers. The total cost of the project is roughly $27 million. Advanced constructed over multiple construction seasons.
All right. Anyone else have any questions or comments? All right, seeing them, Brian, you want to read the roll?
Stephen Wolfo, Mass DOT.
Yes.
Ann Sullivan, Mass DOT Highway.
Yes.
Trevor Beauregard, Gardner.
Yes.
Mark Pamarini, Leominster.
Yes.
Laura Schifrin, MRPC.
Yes.
And George Kahali, Mart.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Brian, you want to do the next one?
Yep, the second amendment we released for public comment last month, again, came back with no comments during the comment period. This one is on the transit side. It's known as amendment number 7. Transit projects in 2 federal fiscal years. This is the addition of community transit grant awards, which were awarded since we originally endorsed the 24 through 28 TIP. So we're amending these projects in. They didn't exist when we created the TIP last year. In this case, 3 awards were given in the form of monies for vehicle purchases to 3 different entities: Gamma Inc., MART, and the town of Templeton, in federal fiscal years 2024 and 2025, and the transit element of the 24 through 28 TIP. No comments. Again, we're looking for a motion to endorse.
All right, can I get a motion and second to endorse this amendment?
I make a motion to endorse.
Laura Schifrin, I'll second the endorsement.
All right, any questions for Brian? All right, Brian, you want to read the roll?
Steve Wolfo, Mass DOT.
Yes.
Ann Sullivan, Mass DOT Highway.
Yes.
Trevor Beauregard, Gardner.
Yes.
Mark Pamarini, Leominster.
Yes.
Laura Schifrin, MRPC.
Yes.
George Kahali, Mart.
Yes.
One thing I'd like to mention regarding these amendments is these were presented to the Joint Transportation Committee at the meeting last week, and their preference was for the MPO to endorse. So that's one thing I didn't mention, but that was our public meeting for these amendments.
Okay. Well, thank you, Brian, for that. So we've gone through these. So let's move to the next agenda item. The next agenda item is agenda item 5, which is an update on the MassDOT Q study. Brian, are you doing this or?
Yeah. So initially, I wanted this on the agenda. We didn't know exactly how we were going to handle it, if it was going to be a comment or we're going to go over the study itself. But ultimately, what we decided to do is to have staff review this study. And this is in regards to the Route 2 corridor study, which was a collaboration between Mass DOT and their consultant DHB. It basically evaluates existing and future conditions along Route 2. And the study area is from Lincoln in the east to Oak Hill Road exit in Fitchburg to the west. So an extensive part of our region, Route 2, is studied in this process. So the comment period is currently live. It ends next Thursday, July 25th. So we felt that we should review this and come up with some, offer some comments on behalf of the MPO to submit. The idea is to allow members a chance chance to review their study themselves, our proposed comments as staff, and hold off on commenting until next Wednesday in the form of a letter, and allow opportunity for members to get back with us with additional feedback. So originally in the handouts, this was not included. We actually just finished this up this morning, this handout, in the form of a letter. This is a draft. Basically, staff went through the study in detail. We opted to not comment on every single alternative that the study offered, but just general overview type of stuff. We felt it's important as a regional planning organization to have our thumb on activities around Route 2, considering how important it is on our region, and we talk so much about it in our long-range plans. It just has a overwhelming effect on the region. So it's a very high-quality study, we'd like to say. It takes an approach that looks very closely into the traffic operations side of things, but we do have some additional considerations to add as a comment. And I can take this from the western portion on Mount Elam Road and kind of move along through our region. And the idea is to possibly get some consensus agreement from the group today to submit the final version of this rough draft of the comments that we have next week. So I'll start off at Mount Elam Road, which is the off-ramp in Fitchburg and Leominster. It's known as Parmenter Road. They go over a number of different alternatives at this location, and we opted to not prefer one alternative over another, but just to add additional context. In this case, they offer suggestions such as increasing the XL and decel lane on the on and off ramps. There's actually a lighted, I'm sure all of us are familiar with this location. It is a lighted area. There's a traffic signal on the in this area going eastbound. We are suggesting that if there are no improvements in the short or long term, for that matter, that additional warning signals be considered at this location to warn commuters of possible light change or traffic oncoming from the highway. It's a difficult location. Route 2 is funny in that it has a number of designated off and on ramps, but there are some locations, mostly in the east, but a few in our region as well, such as this location in Abbott Ave as well, which are more leftovers from when the highway was first built. Right only on, right only off. So that's our suggestion at that location. Abbott Ave, we get into further east in the study area. A lot of this discussion within the report happens in the context with an adjacent intersection at interchange with Merriam Ave. They suggest a number of improvement alternatives at Merriam Ave, at the off ramps in Leominster and Fitchburg on Route 2. And contingent on that, they suggest in the study to close the right-hand on-ramp coming from the south on Abbott Ave. And again, it's tough to explain this in detail, but I'm sure we're all very familiar with this location. This particular on and off ramp offers access from Abbott Ave from both the north and the south onto Route 2. It is still a divided highway in this area, so you can't cross Route 2, but there are some significant users access this point. As far as their recommendations contingent on the improvements at the Merriam Ave interchange, we would suggest considerations against full closure over the Abbott Ave from the southbound, from the city of Leominster portion, due to its access that it allows to places like the Doyle Conservation Area. A lot of times, if there was an accident on Route 2, this is an egress and entrance area back onto the highway or off the highway. It would also add to the congestion that Merriam Ave sees and further down into the city of Fitchburg as well if this location was closed. Obviously, it's not to the point where it's a shovel in the ground project yet, and There are really a lot of plans moving forward, but we would ask to consider full considerations against full closure at this location. Again, I know it's probably a lot of information, so that's why we wanted to give members a chance to review this in more detail and review the study before we submit these. Moving further east at exit 99, this is the interchange route 2 and route 12. Most recently, the bridge was reconstructed about 10 years ago. As part of that project, the off ramps and on ramps were adjusted. Most recently, the rail trail bridge was constructed in the vicinity of this area. Our comments are related to the acceleration and deceleration lanes, namely in the westbound Route 2 off ramps at this location. The way it's laid out right now, you have a deceleration lane going westbound on Route 2 to Route 12 north into the city of Fitchburg. Closely after that, about 100 feet or so, is a short off ramp to the Route 12 south access into the city of Leominster. This can be somewhat confusing. I assume that the reason why the deceleration lane isn't extended throughout the whole exit into northbound and southbound is because the bridge abutment's there, but that wasn't necessarily examined within the study. We are asking for additional consideration to expand these deceleration lanes in the event that a major project is not undertaken at this location. Some of that has to do with the pedestrian bridge, which was just added. Moving further down Main Street, which is the Route 13 interchange, we consider both on ramps should extend acceleration lanes if possible. As of right now, they are inadequate, especially going eastbound at this location. We go into some of the concepts. This location is unique because there's a major project which was just undertaken, is just wrapping up on Route 13 right now. So I'm sure the project proponents are aware of that. We just felt the need to make special mention of that. It's a major investment in the region, which is just been undertaken, and we would hate to see any major changes to something we just changed. Moving further east, we grouped this group of exits together, exit 102, 103, 105, and 109. They did the same thing in the report. The way they handled this was they took more of a peer review approach to a study which was done in 2016. We are adding additional context, and these are the exits basically in the eastern portion of Leominster going into Lancaster. A number of issues exist. Probably the most prevalent issue is the inadequate acceleration lanes on the on ramps at these locations. But we wanted to provide additional context, which wasn't mentioned in the study, and especially not in the study in 2016, which is peer reviewed, about expected developments in the area, which we expect to add freight and commercial traffic as well. We're undergoing a freight study at this location. We wanted to provide this context in the form of a table, which we project will be added freight traffic in this area. So again, there's no projects that are ready to go on the tip or anything like that, these locations, but it's important to provide this additional context because the area is about to change in our mind. We mentioned flooding events on Route 2. This mainly revolves around the area of exit 99, which is the Route 12 interchange. Most recently, the major event in Leominster, September 11th this past year, 2023, the flooding event, which caused so much damage. In regards to Route 2, it actually flooded under this bridge, which isn't the first time it happens. This is a major safety hazard, obviously. So we have a number of bulleted items to consider, considering the flooding prone of this area. Consider additional need for emergency access gates at this location. If it does flood, it's impassable. Consider potential on emergency notification signage, both eastbound and westbound. If the case of flooding event would shut down Route 2 in this location, we feel it's important to provide additional information to eastbound and westbound travelers. And this could be coupled with other signage benefits as well. And consider additional stormwater improvements at this location. Basically, you go from a higher altitude in the west towards Fitchburg and come down to Route 2 westbound into what amounts to kind of a bowl, and all the water goes under the Route 12 bridge, and there's significant flooding hazards at this location. So we wanted to make special mention of that. It is not mentioned in the report, but we feel like it's important to mitigate some of the flooding hazards at this location. The other thing we wanted to make mention of is solar glare and night blindness. And we had in mind specifically the portion west of the Merriam Ave off-ramp. Basically, there's a number of vertical and horizontal curves at this location. You lose some or gain depending on what direction you're going. Altitude, as I mentioned, there's some curves. There's issues with solar glare at certain times of the year. We feel that some of this might be mitigated by having additional signage, warning drivers going in each direction at appropriate times of the year of solar glare. Also, night blindness due to the layout of the infrastructure as it is right now. It's prone to, in certain areas, night blindness from oncoming traffic on the opposite direction of Route 2 by the headlights of those vehicles. So there may be an opportunity to provide some screening at those locations or something to mitigate the effect of that night blindness. So that's basically the base of it. Our last comment here has to do with future input, and I'll read this comment in full. It is the preference of the Montachusett Metropolitan Planning Organization to have a regional input on studies of this scale at a stage before the public comment period. We look forward to contributing in any projects mentioned in the Route 2 corridor study from a regional planning perspective. So it's the intention of staff to, if some of these projects do come to fruition and we see them, if they come onto the tip, we would be involved, hopefully, in the process of decision making when talking about alternatives at each of these locations. Again, this is what we have as of now. Staff have completed the review of the study. We'd like to send a comment in the form of a letter and explicitly mention the Montachusett Metropolitan Planning Organization. So by doing that, we ask for a consensus to do that on behalf of the MPO. And again, we will not submit anything until a Wednesday to give members a chance to review some of these. If there may be something we're missing or something that may be an issue with.
So, Brian, thanks for this. Quick question. When you talk about from the MPO, you're talking about from the staff of the MPO, right?
Right, as the staff, right. The staff of the MPO is basically did the review for this group. And we would be submitting the comment letter from the MPO, more or less.
All right, any questions for Brian? All right, so I guess, Brian, just send all this stuff out. Please, everyone, take a look at it. Give any comments so Brian can and staff can put the MassDOT. So, all right.
And I'd just like to mention again, and we feel like it's an important planning tool going forward. We look at Route 2 and so many different aspects, whether it's long range planning or elsewhere. So it's a great resource to have. So thank
Brian,
you.
looks like we have a question from Neil Angus. So, Brian, I'm looking in the chat. Just either follow up with Neil Angus or take into account what he's put here as you guys are looking at finalizing comments.
Okay, let me just try to. Oh, I see the. Okay, yep, Neil, I'll follow up with you. I'm just seeing the comment now.
All right.
Okay.
All right, anyone else? All right, I think we can move on to the next agenda item. Thanks, Brian. Next agenda item is the updates on agenda item 6. The first one is from the Highway Division. Daryl, you want to go first?
Sure. So a couple projects here for in FY24. We've got project 608723. This is AFL intersection improvements at Crescent Street and Chestnut Hill Ave. Design is at PS&E. The resubmission was received on May 7th. Environmental was cleared on May 31st. Right-of-way cert was issued on July 3rd. And we're just preparing docs for advertising this weekend on the 20th. Next, we have project in 26. We have project 612151. This is AFL bridge replacement, Route 2A, Main Street over the E&W Railroad. Design is at pre-25. Preliminary structures report was resubmitted. Review comments were completed last December, and we're waiting Railroad to sign an agreement in order to begin subsurface investigation. 25% due October 17th. That's what I have for now.
All right, any questions for Darrell? All right, District D3. Anna, are you doing it or is Sarah doing it?
I'll do it.
All right, thank you.
So the first project is Leominster Route 12, 604499. It's that the PS&E was just submitted. It isn't quite under review yet, but it's been submitted. There's some environmental permitting yet to do, and right away it's a critical path on that project. The next project, Pittsburgh Water Street Bridges, Water Street over Boulder, and Pan Am Railroad, and Water Street over North Nashua. 608189. That is at PS&E. The add date is the end of August. Right of way is critical path on that. Environmental is clear. The Fitchburg Leominster Twin City Rail Trail, 609411. That is at PS&E. The add date is August 17th. Right of way is also critical path on that, and the Chapter 91 filing is pending. It's been filed, but we're just waiting for the permitting. And that's it for 2024.
All right, anyone have any questions for Ann? All right, thanks, Ann. We'll now move to the update on transit. George, you got anything?
Yes, before the update, I do have a question on the TIP fiscal year 2024. Mart just received the final Volkswagen settlement fund that was through Mass DEP was over the fund we received before by $29,000 and 341. Is that a need amendment or adjustment?
George, Kina reached out on this issue. We didn't get a chance to put it on the agenda for this month, and it would be more of an adjustment. It's a $2.5 million line item, I think, and would be, less than a 2% increase. So by our rules, we'd be able to do an adjustment for that. So we could possibly handle that in full at the next meeting.
Hey, Brian and George, would you mind including myself, MassDOT, and that as well? Just because we're close to the end of the fiscal year and FTA closes their books soon. So I want to make sure that we have time to perform that adjustment, or if we need to handle it as something else, just to make sure it gets processed before the end of the year. Thanks.
Sure. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah. We cannot do it today.
George, you got another update, or is that it?
No, I'm just asking. Has to be done next month?
I guess.
So my understanding.
Call up, right? Is that what we decided? Because it's too late to do today.
Yeah, it's too late to do it today.
It wasn't on the agenda. Yeah.
Okay, that's okay. We'll do it next month thing. The update I have is we just last week, last Wednesday, we had a public meeting at Gardner City Hall to go over some changes in the bus route in Ghana. We had a meeting, the public meeting in the city hall to go over these changes and improvement to the bus route system in Ghana. Last January, we ran a new pilot route north-south of the city and called Route 3 for 30 minutes with 19 daily loop beside the existing 2 loop. The success of Route 3 because was shorter loops and more frequency. And then we start looking at the whole system in Gardner, which has been running 2 loops in opposite direction for over 60 minutes each loop for many years. The new proposed routes for Gardner are shorter loops and more frequent without losing any stops or any service area. We divided the existing loops into 2, North Loop and South Loop, with many locations to transfer, and the transfer is free. And all the 3 loops intersect at City Hall. The proposed Route 1 is South Loop, has been changed from over 60 minute loop to less than 40 minutes loop and increased the frequency from 11 loops to 17 loops per day, which is over 50% more loops. And the second route is North, Route 2 North loop has been changed from over 60 minutes loop to less than 40 minutes loop and increased the frequency from 11 to 18 loops per day, which is over 60% more loops. Also, with our proposal, we'll be adding a Sunday service to these 2 routes, Route 1 and 2. And the advisory board, hopefully next month, will approve this, and we'll start these new routes by September. And this is what I have.
All right, anyone have any questions for George? All right, thanks, George.
Thank you.
Next updates from the JTC. Brian, got anything?
Yeah, JTC met last week. The main item on the agenda was the review of the amendments, which we spoke of earlier this meeting. The group also conducted its annual election of officers. So Robert Schwartz from Gardner is the chair. Travis Condon from North Central Mass Chamber of Commerce is the vice chair. And Elizabeth Faxon from the town of Townsend is the secretary. Those officers were the same last year, so we have new officers going into this next fiscal year, and that is all I have for the JTC.
All right, anyone have any questions for Brian on that? All right, last one is from the Regional Planning Commission. Brian, I don't see Glenn. Do we have anything?
So Laura, our chair, is here, but Glenn did give me an update to give Laura. I'm not sure if he gave you any update. I can just move forward. So yeah, MRPC did not meet. There was no commission meeting in July. We took July off. The only update he gave is we've been giving updates on our hiring for the planning and development department. We've had some overturn. We finally filled out our roster, so to say. Bertie Cahill just started, I think, Monday of this week, and that's in the planning and development department. And I'll actually also mention Zachary Kay, who was on this meeting as well. He started last month in our planning and development department as a regional planner.
All right, anyone have any questions for Brian? All right, next agenda item is administrative matters, agenda 8. Next MPO meeting is when, Brian?
So tentatively, next one would be August 21st. I was going to entertain skipping August. I don't know if the development with the possible adjustment to the fiscal year 24 and the transit section of the tip would affect that. As I mentioned.
Brian, I don't think
Yes.
so. I think you're okay for September.
Okay, and I'll await additional guidance from Rail and Transit or our liaison at Office of Transportation Planning at MassDOT as well. As I mentioned, it can be handled as an adjustment. It doesn't have to go through a comment period or anything like that. It's a very low difference. So the next meeting in August would be on the 21st. If we opted to take August off, being a light agenda, the next meeting would be September 18th.
All right,
So I'll leave that up to the group.
Sorry, Brian. So I would think everyone should expect September, but please hold August until we confirm. But it sounds like we won't have to be in March and wait till September. So, all right. Last item agenda is adjournment. Can I get a motion second to adjourn, please?
Quick question, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Oh, wait. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, there's not a raise hand function on here. George, how much is the Volkswagen settlement fund amount for your project?
The total fund right now is $2,458,057.
That's what's already programmed in your TIP, so I don't actually think any action's necessary if that's what you've received. It's already programmed in your TIP, project T00091 to that amount.
No, the number no, sorry, it came less. There is a mistake. It came less by 29,341.
So
Okay.
I think what we should do is just take this offline, and staff should talk to Mark and figure out if there's anything, but it sounds like we're good September regardless. So if that works. Anything else before I call for adjournment?
I'll just make one mention of one more thing.
Okay, Brian.
Notice, so obviously Mass DOT is a big part of what we do at the MPO, and our liaison to Office of Transportation Planning has been Clem for the last few years. Office of Transportation Planning is shuffling things up a bit. Chris is moving to another region, and we'll have Derek Schuster, who is here, as our liaison starting in August. So just want to thank Chris for all your help over the last few years. And the communication has been great. And I'm glad that, Derek, you're coming on, and there's some familiarity there. And I appreciate all the help. So thank you.
Thanks, Brian. It's been a pleasure.
All right, with that, can I get a motion second to adjourn, please?
So moved. And
All right, everyone, in favor of adjourn, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, everyone, so it looks like we won't see you till September more than likely. So if that's the case, please enjoy your summer, stay cool, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.